अक्षराणामक्षरसमाम्नायम् अधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। नत्वा सरस्वतीं देवीं शुद्धां गुण्यां करोम्यहं पाणिनीयप्रवेशाय लघुसिद्धान्तकौमुदीम्। पूर्वस्मिन् वर्गे अस्माभिः मङ्गलाचरणस्य अध्ययनं कृतम्। अद्य अग्रे सरामः। तदनन्तरं मङ्गलाचरणादनन्तरं 14 माहेश्वरसूत्राणि शिवसूत्राणि अयुण रुलुक एओंग अयौच हयवरट लं यमगणनम झभाए घड़धश जबगड़दश ख फ छ ठ थ चटत कपय शश सर हल इति माहेश्वराणि सूत्राणि अणादिसंज्ञार्थानि येषाम् अन्त्याः इतः हकारादिषु अकारः उच्चारणार्थः लण् मध्ये तु इत्सम्यकः। सर्वप्रथमं तु इति माहेश्वराणि इत्यस्मात् प्रारम्भं कृत्वा लण् मध्ये तु इत्सम्यकः इत्यस्य किञ्चित् अध्ययनं कुर्मः। तदनन्तरं सर्वेषामपि माहेश्वरसूत्राणां किञ्चित् चिन्तनं कुर्मः। तत्र एतेषां विषये किं वदन्तिः अस्ति, किं वदन्ती अस्ति इत्युक्ते देयर इज अ फोक स्टोरी। सम पीपल से एतानि सर्वाणि माहेश्वरसूत्राणि पाणिनिना एव विरचितानि। केचन अन्ये वदन्ति माहेश्वरात् आगतानि। तत्र अन्ये केचन वदन्ति माहेश्वरेण सनकादीनां कृते मोक्षार्थम् उद्धरणार्थं कश्चन उपदेशः कृतः। So Shiva gave some blessings to the Sanakadis so that they get the moksha, and from those blessings what Panini got was the 14 Shiva Sutras, and then he created a vyakarana around it. So we say Nrittavasane Nataraja Rajaha. It's written over here. Nrittavasane Nataraja Rajaha Nanad Dhakkam Navapanchavaram Chaturdashavaram. Why was this dhakka? Why was this drum sounded? Uddhartu kamaha sanakadi siddhant. The real purpose was not to teach vyakaranam to Panini. The real purpose was to give the moksha, to do the uddharanam of the sanakadis. But from that, as a side effect, what Panini got was 14 Shiva Sutras, and he then created the entire Vyakaranam around it. These are all various stories. We don't know what is reality. Some people also say that this is created by Panini. But the common paksha that is accepted is Maheshwarat Agatani, Maheshwarat Agatani, Maheshwarani, Etani Sutrani. अतः अत्र अग्रे उच्यते इति माहेश्वराणि। किं नाम माहेश्वर? महेश्वरात् आगतम् इति माहेश्वरम्। तद्धितान्तः शब्दः अस्ति महेश्वर इत्यस्मात्। तद्धितप्रकरणे किम् अस्ति? एकत्र एकस्मिन् कॉलम मध्ये एकस्मिन् स्थले सर्वाणि अर्थविधायकानि सूत्राणि, अपरस्मिन् स्थले सर्वे अपि प्रत्ययाः। तत्र सर्वाणि सूत्राणि सन्ति, तत्र ततः आगतः इति एकं सूत्रम्। ततः आगतः इत्यत्र ततः इति पंचमी समर्थात् आगतः प्राप्तः इत्यस्मिन् अर्थे यथाविहितं प्रत्ययः भवति। महेश्वरात् आगतं माहेश्वरं, तत्र प्राग्दिव्यतः अण इति सूत्रेण अण भवति। महेश्वरात् आगतं माहेश्वरं, माहेश्वराणि सूत्राणि। पूर्वस्मिन् वर्गे सूत्र इत्यस्मिन् विषये विस्तरेण चर्चा कृता। A thread used to tie various leaves is called sutram and so on. अणादिसंज्ञार्थानि। किमर्थम् एतेषां सर्वेषां सूत्राणां माहेश्वर सूत्राणां निर्माणं कृतं? प्रत्याहाराणां कृते। अण् आदि संज्ञाः आहत्य अण इक इण यण एताः सर्वाः संज्ञाः सन्ति। एतासां सर्वासां संज्ञानां निर्माणार्थं माहेश्वर सूत्राणि विरचितानि सन्ति। अतः एतत् सर्वम् अत्र द्वितीये परिच्छेदे अत्र लिखितमस्ति। महेश्वरात् आगतानि माहेश्वराणि, ततः आगतः इति अण, महेश्वरात् प्राप्तानि, तस्मात् प्राप्तः ततः आगतः, महेश्वरात् प्राप्तानि इति यावत्। तस्मात् पूर्वमपि एकं वाक्यमस्ति, ननु इमानि सूत्राणि 14 माहेश्वर सूत्राणि मुनित्रय ग्रन्थ बहिर्भूतत्वात्। व्याकरणशास्त्रे अस्माभिः मुनित्रयं नमस्कृत्य इति उच्यते। इत्युक्ते यत्किमपि पाणिनिना उक्तमस्ति, कात्यायनेन उक्तमस्ति, पतञ्जलिना उक्तमस्ति, तत्सर्वं सिद्धान्तरूपेण स्वीक्रियते। This is a very important point to understand. In Paninian grammar, the authority ends at Mahabhashyam. Authority ends at Patanjali. The three munis that are regarded as the authority are Panini, Vararuchi, and Patanjali. Anybody coming after that cannot design their own rules, cannot design their own theorems. They only have to somehow justify the stuff that is given by three of them. So if you see anybody, say Kashika or say Kayyata, Nagesha, Bhattoji Dikshita, all these people, they will try to justify the stuff that has already been there in the Mahabhashya. Nagesha, to be particular, is extremely specific or confined to the Bhashya. Lots of interesting theorems, lots of interesting concepts. He thoroughly rejects them, even if they seem to be valid, only because the Mahabhashyam does not talk about them, only because Mahabhashyam does not discuss these aspects. So Munitrayam is this confined scope of authority. You can always write books, you can always, simplify the concepts, but you cannot derive something on your own if it is not dictated by Manini. Therefore, imani sutrani munitraya grantha bahirбhūtatvat. They are not given in any of the three books of the three munis. Ataha katham pramanani. Tarhi tesham pramanam kim. Why should we start the study of Vyakarana with these 14 sutras? सो देन तत्र स्पष्टीकरणमस्ति इति माहेश्वराणि सूत्राणि. महेश्वरः इति प्रत्यक्षदेवः, ईश्वरः. So God is always above all the munis that create a particular human made construct. So if something comes from the God, then you cannot confine it in the boundaries of the Munitrayam. You always take it as a blessing from the God. So imani sutrani munitraya grantha bahirбhūtatvad अप्रमाणम इति संशयः पूर्वपक्षिणा उपस्थापितः. तत्र किमुत्तरं माहेश्वरादागतानि माहेश्वराणि सूत्राणि ततः आगतः इति अण इति तस्य व्युत्पत्तिः दीयते. अतः एतेषां प्रामाण्यम् अस्ति. महेश्वरात् आगतानि माहेश्वराणि अतः प्रमाणानि अवश्यं स्युः इति आशयः. महेश्वरात् प्राप्तानि इति यावत्. अस्तु नाम महेश्वरात् आगतानि तर्हि प्रमाणभूतानि सन्ति, तथापि व्याकरणस्य प्रारम्भे एतेषाम् अध्ययनं किमर्थं करणीयम्? वाट् इस् देयर रिलेशन विथ द व्याकरणम्? अतः अग्रिमं वाक्यं ननु महेश्वर प्रणीत सूत्राणाम् येषां वैयाकरण सिद्धान्त प्रकाशने. अत्र किमस्ति? व्याकरणस्य सिद्धान्तः. रिमेम्बर् द अनुबन्ध चतुष्टयम्. व्याकरणस्य सिद्धान्तः प्रतिपाद्यत्वेन विषयाः. व्याकरणस्य सिद्धानाम् अध्ययन समये वेदस्य अध्ययनं न क्रियते, अन्य स्तोत्रस्य अध्ययनं न क्रियते. महेश्वराद् यत् किमपि आशीर्वचन रूपेण प्राप्तं तस्य किमर्थम् अध्ययनम्? अतः महेश्वर प्रणीता सूत्राणाम् येषां वैयाकरण सिद्धांत प्रकाशने उपयोगस्य अभावः. So again, understand how it goes as a Purva Pakshin and a Uttara Pakshin. The Purva Pakshin first questions, why do we need to learn Maheshwara Sutras? Well, they are from the Maheshwaras. Even if they are outside the three munis, it's a God-given thing. अस्तु तर्हि व्याकरणस्य अध्ययने तेषाम् उपयोगः किमर्थम्? एतानि व्यर्थानि. अतः महेश्वरप्रणीतसूत्राणाम् येषां वैयाकरणसिद्धान्तप्रकाशने उपयोगस्य अभावात् इह तद् उपन्यासः. उपन्यासः इत्युक्ते तस्य उपस्थापनं, तस्य चैंटिंग, स्पष्टीकरणं, तस्य चिन्तनम् अनावश्यकं, व्यर्थम् इति आह. तेषां चिन्तनं व्यर्थं नास्ति. अणादिसंज्ञार्थानि. माहेश्वरसूत्रैः अण अक अच अल हल यण एतादृशाः भिन्नाः संज्ञाः सिद्ध्यन्ति. एताः संज्ञाः तत्र अष्टाध्याय्यां बहुत्र बहुषु सूत्रेषु बहुवारम् उपयुक्ताः वर्तन्ते. अतः अणादिसंज्ञार्थानि. समस्तपदमस्ति, अस्य विग्रहं पश्यामः. अणादि इति एकः शब्दः. सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि. यू हैव स्टडीड द सूत्रम इन द सेम वे. अणादि, अण आदिः येषां बहुव्रीहि समासः अस्ति. एका शब्दानाम् आवली यस्याः आदौ अण इति शब्दः विद्यते. अणादिः. ते सर्वे अणादयः. अणादयः संज्ञाः. These are all individual terms. So ana is a samnya, akka is a samnya. This is important to understand. In normal language or in general discussion, we call all these as pratyaharas. Ana is a pratyahara, aka is a pratyahara, al is a pratyahara. प्रत्याहारः इति संज्ञा नास्ति. प्रत्याहारः is not a grammatical term like वृद्धि or गुण or संयोग or सर्वनाम and so on. Pratyahara is a simple representation of 44 different samnyas. Ana is a separate samnya, Aka is a separate samnya, Ala is a separate samnya. That's exactly what is written over here. Anadi samnyarthani. Ana adihi yesham te anadayaha. अणादयः संज्ञाः कर्मधारय समासः अस्ति अणादि संज्ञाः अणादि संज्ञाः अर्थः यस्य Maheshwara Sutrani Vyarthani Santiva iti prashnaha. Understand how the link is happening. What is the question? Tadupanyasaha Vyarthaha. Maheshwara Sutrani Vyarthani Santiva Vyarthani na Santi Tatra Arthaha asti. And therefore he completes that by saying Samnyartha. केवलम अनादि संज्ञाः भवन्ति इति न तेषां संज्ञानां तासां संज्ञानां तत्र सूत्रेषु अर्थः विद्यते अतः अणादि संज्ञार्थानि अण आदि एष ये आसाम ते अणादयः नो चेत् अण आदि येषां ते अणादयः ताः अणादयः संज्ञाः ते ताः संज्ञाः प्रयोजनम् अर्थः येषां तानि सूत्राणि अणादि संज्ञार्थानि सूत्राणि अतः अत्र किमुक्तमस्ति अणः आदिः यासां ताः अणादयः. So step number 1, understand how it breaks down. Anadi is first. Anadayah taha samnyaha. This is karmadharaya. The first was bahuvrihi. The second is karmadharaya. Anadayah taha samnyaha. Anadi samnyaha. Taha अर्थः येषाम् इत्युक्ते ताः संज्ञाः प्रयोजनं येषाम् पुनरेकवारं बहुव्रीहि समासः अणादि संज्ञार्थानि सूत्राणि. कः अर्थः? माहेश्वरसूत्रैः इदानीं प्रत्याहारनिर्माणं कथं भवति इति अग्रे पश्यामः. आदिरन्त्येन सहेता इत्यनेन आदिवर्णं स्वीकृत्य अन्त्येन इत्वर्णेन सह मेलनं कृत्वा प्रत्याहारस्य निर्माणं भवति. So mathematically there might be a random number of combinations. You pick up any random word letter in the beginning, any word in the letter, one of those 14 letters, and you can combine, but we don't call them pratyaharas. Why? Because they are not samnyas. Only the 44 important things ana, ala, ana, these are samnyas. If you take a random combination, say ram or say lam, so r and then ma, la and then ma, so these are not called samnyas. They can still be generated by the same process of compression or same process of taking the initial letter and combining with an it letter, but they are not called samnyas because they are not used anywhere in the Ashtadhyayi. So an adihi asam taha anadayah anadayah samnyaha anadayah samnyaha yesham prayojanam तानि अणादि संज्ञार्थानि. अतः अत्र अण अल इत्येतासाम् एव संज्ञाः इति व्याख्या भवति. अन्येषां रम लम टय टल इति सर्वे शब्दाः संज्ञा न संज्ञारूपं संज्ञा इति रूपेण न स्वीक्रियन्ते. अतः तस्मिन्नेव विषये अग्रे स्पष्टीक्रियते. येषां सूत्राणाम् इत्युक्ते माहेश्वरसूत्राणाम् अणादि संज्ञाद्वारा अण आदयः संज्ञाः तैः सिद्ध्यन्ति तासां संज्ञानां साहाय्येन व्याकरणशास्त्रे अवश्यम् उपयोगः अस्ति. न अनर्थक्यम् अनर्थक्यम् न अनर्थक्यम् extra न is missing typo. I'll fix this. So उपयोगात् न anarthakyam iti bhavaha. There is a gamudagama sandhi, but we are not talking about that. There is an extra n missing in the typed version. उपयोगात् न anarthakyam iti bhavaha इत्युक्ते अर्थत्वम् अवश्यम् अस्ति माहेश्वर सूत्राणाम्. अतः पूर्वपक्षिणा अत्र प्रश्नद्वयम् उपस्थापितम्. प्रथमं तु महेश्वरात् आगतानि मुनित्रय बहिर्भूतत्वात् कथं तेषां प्रामाण्यम् इति तस्य उत्तरं दत्तं. तदनन्तरम् अस्तु नाम प्रामाण्यं व्याकरणशास्त्रस्य आदौ किमर्थं तस्य अध्ययनं कुर्मः इति चेत् तेषाम् आर्थक्यम् अस्ति. सर्वत्र बहुषु सूत्रेषु एतेषां ग्रहणं कृत्वा नियमाः व्याकरणशास्त्रस्य नियमाः प्रतिपादिताः वर्तन्ते इति आशयः. अग्रे पश्यामः. एषाम् अन्त्याः इतः. एषाम् इत्युक्ते एषां माहेश्वरसूत्राणाम् अन्ते यत्किमपि अस्ति, ये केऽपि वर्णाः अस्ति ते अन्त्याः। अन्त्य इत्यत्र किमस्ति? अन्त्य इति तद्धितान्तशब्दः। एनी टाइम you hear तद्धितान्त, first question which artha, second question which pratyaya, तद्धिता come into columns. So तत्र कः अर्थः? तत्र भवः, exists there इति अर्थः। तत्र भवः, something exists inside something, तत्र भवः। अन्त इत्यस्मात् शब्दात् तत्र भवः इत्युक्ते अन्ते भवः, अन्ते अस्ति, अन्ते विद्यते, अन्ते वर्तते, अन्ते भवः इत्यस्मिन् अर्थे यत इति प्रत्ययः भवति। सो फ्रॉम द सेकंड कॉलम वी पिक यत, फ्रॉम फर्स्ट कॉलम वी पिक तत्र भवः। यत इत्यस्य किं सूत्रं? दिगादिभ्यः यत इति सूत्रम्। दिगादिगणस्य ये केऽपि शब्दाः, दिश इति अस्ति, वर्ग इति अस्ति, पुग इति अस्ति, एंड सो ऑन, अंत इति अस्ति। अस्मात् शब्दात् तत्र भवः अस्मिन् अर्थे यत प्रत्ययः भवति। सो अन्ते भवः अन्त्यः। You can also see the other ones, right? आदौ भवः आद्यः, मुखे भवः मुख्यः, से वर्गे भवः वर्ग्यः, पूज्यः, गण्यः, भिन्नाः शब्दाः अत्र सिद्ध्यन्ति। सो अन्ते भवः अन्त्यः, अन्ते विद्यते, प्रत्येकं माहेश्वरसूत्रस्य अन्ते विद्यते, सः अन्त्यः इत्युक्ते अन्ते विद्यते, तस्यैव इत इति संज्ञा अस्ति इति तत्र स्पष्टीकृतं वर्तते। येषाम् अन्त्याः इतः। ज्ञातम्? येषाम् अन्त्याः इतः, अत एव अत्र अग्रे उक्तमस्ति येषाम् उदाहृतसूत्राणाम् इत्युक्ते माहेश्वरसूत्राणाम् अन्त्याः, अन्ते भवाः। के के अन्ते विद्यन्ते? ऐ उण् इत्यत्र ण अस्ति, रुलुक् इत्यत्र क अस्ति, ए ओङ् इत्यत्र ङ अस्ति। अनेन प्रकारेण णकारादिवर्णाः, णकारः आदौ येषाम्, if you extract those 14 letters, ana will be in the beginning. So nakaraha adau yesham, te nakaradivarnaha itsamnyakaha pratyetavyaha jnatavyaha iti ashayah, etesham it samnya bhavati iti ashayah.
Mahodaya, an iti samya. So each also, when we do a pratyahara in between, that also is a samya. Is it all the 44
That
are
is
samyas?
that is correct. All the 44 are the samnyas. Ich is the samnya, an is the samnya. All 44 are the samnyas.
महोदय, ईश्वर इत्यत्र प्रत्ययः कः? तद्धितप्रत्ययः
Ana, 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 ana.
अण्.
Ana. So ana is the, again this little digression, but I can talk. Ana is the most common tadhita pratyaya. Anytime a pratyaya does not get mentioned, it is most often ana pratyaya. Like 80% of the tadhitas are generated using ana, and then various others.
This Adi Vriddhi that we are doing in this word, that is Maheshwara to Maheshwara, that is because of the Anu Pratyaya. The Adi Vriddhi is because of Anu.
That is because of the na present in the ana pratyaya. So it's samyaka lana in the ana pratyaya causes an adivriddhi.
अत्र उपयोगाभावादिह तद उपन्यासो व्यर्थ. Could you just elaborate on that bit? That tad upanyaso vyartha, that sentence, no? Vyakarana Siddhanta Prakashane उपयोगाभावादिह tad upanyaso vyartha, that bit.
सो उपन्यासः इत्युक्ते तेषाम् अत्र विवरणम्। अत्र व्याकरणशास्त्रस्य ग्रन्थस्य आरम्भे किं विद्यते? हलन्त्यं तस्य लोपः इति विद्यते वा? न विद्यते। किं विद्यते? अयुणरुलुक एवं अयौच् इति विद्यते। व्याकरणशास्त्रस्य ग्रन्थे अयुणरुलुक इत्यस्य किं प्रयोजनम्? पाणिनिना रचितमस्ति वा? नास्ति। वार्तिककारेण अस्ति वा? नास्ति। भाष्यकारेण रचितमस्ति वा? नास्ति। तर्हि केनचित् अन्येन मुनित्रयात् बहिः यः कोऽपि विद्यते, तेन रचितं सूत्रजालम् अत्र किमर्थं स्थापनीयं? तद्व्यर्थम् इति आशयः। किमर्थं व्यर्थं? तेषां प्रयोजनम् अस्ति वा? We are going to learn how to derive words. The purpose of Ashtadhyayi is Sadhu Shabda Siddhihi. Are Maheshwara Sutras going to be useful in Sadhu Shabda Siddhihi? Is the question. So the Purva Pakshi says that vyakarana Siddhanta Prakashane, maybe they are great for doing the Uddharanam of the Sanakadis, but let that be their purpose. Why are we studying it for the study of Vyakarana? वैयाकरण सिद्धांतानां प्रतिपादनम अस्मिन् ग्रंथे क्रियते अत्र माहेश्वर सूत्राणां किं प्रयोजनम् इति प्रश्ने कृते तस्य किम् उत्तरं बहुषु सूत्रेषु अपि एतैः निर्मिताः प्रत्याहाराः सन्ति. So there are two steps. Direct Maheshwara Sutras are not used anywhere in Ashtadhyayi. From the Maheshwara Sutras, you get Pratyaharas, 44 Pratyaharas. These Pratyaharas are used in Ashtadhyayi. So direct application of Maheshwara Sutras is never seen. Even if you create, even if you give a gana of Pratyaharas, it would be almost the same. But instead of doing that, going that bigger route, he gives the short and crisp Maheshwara Sutras, and he gives the technique of Adirantena Saheta, with which you can yourself make all those 44 Pratyaharas, and then they are used in Ashtadhyayi. Is this clear, or you want any further elaboration? Ha, Sudhaji, is this
No,
clear
I'm
or not
still not
clear?
clear as to why he's used that particular sentence over there.
Because he means this is going on as a discussion. Purva Paksha, Uttar Paksha. The teacher starts teaching. The Purva Paksha says, see, this is like the teacher says, come, now I'll teach you grammar. So student says, okay, I'm going to learn grammar. Then the teacher says, read after me. Ayuna, Ruluka, Eonga. The student says, what? Is it written by Panini, Katyayana, Patanjali? The Guruji says, no, no, it's written by Maheshwara. But then why are you start teaching me things that are written by Maheshwara? They are useless. I don't want to learn Ayuna. I want to learn grammar. That is the question. This is useless. This is how the student says. He argues, it's useless. Then he says, no, no, these are not useless. You are going to learn it in the sutras. So he scans the sutra patha. Where is it? There is no ayuna, there is no ruluka, there is no ayong. Why are you learning this? Then he says, wait, you are not directly using those. You are going to construct pratyaharas out of those, and then you are going to use those. So ada adi samnyaha iti prayojanam. सूत्राणां प्रयोजनं किमस्ति वृद्धिरादैच अदेङ्गुणः इको गुणवृद्धि एतेषां सूत्राणां प्रयोजनमस्ति शब्दसाधुत्वम् माहेश्वरसूत्राणां प्रयोजनं शब्दसाधुत्वम् इति अस्ति वा डैरेक्ट्लि तादृशं प्रयोजनं नास्ति माहेश्वरसूत्रैः साधुशब्दाः न सिद्ध्यन्ति तर्हि माहेश्वरसूत्राणां किं प्रयोजनं चेत् माहेश्वरसूत्रैः प्रत्याहाराणां निर्माणं भवति ते प्रत्याहाराः सूत्रेषु उपयुज्यन्ते तैः सूत्रैः तर्हि साधुशब्दानां निर्माणं भवति साधुशब्दानां ज्ञापनं भवति so this vyartha. So first point, it is irrelevant. That was, why are we learning it if it is outside the boundary of three rishis? So that's irrelevant. Then he says it is useless. It may be relevant because it is coming from God and so on. It is useless. So it's neither irrelevant nor it is useless. There is a particular use in this grammar that we are going to learn. So he says, Esham sutranam anadi samnya dwara व्याकरण शास्त्रे उपयोगाद न अनर्थक्यम अनर्थक्यम न अनर्थक्यम इति भावः अनर्थकस्य भावः अनर्थक्यम तत्रापि तद्धित प्रत्यय अस्ति but we will not go in the व्याख्या of the commentary, otherwise it will be too slow. Is your question answered or you want any further explanation? Okay,
No, it's clear now.
Shubhanji.
It's clear.
Mahoday, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said there that the Maheshwara to Maheshwara comes from the an pratyaya. Astu tatra arthaha kaha and what are the two columns?
Yeah, exactly. I was asking about as the same question.
Okay. Astu.
So you want to know what two columns are or what we are picking from two columns?
You said that Tadita has two aspects. One is the
Okay.
meaning and another is the pratyaya. So
Correct.
when you're using the anpratyaya, what will be the meaning for that? Where is it used? That's what.
Is right over here. Tatah agataha. So from first column, what you pick is tatah agataha. Came from him. Tatah agataha. From the second column, you pick ana. The meaning is tatah agataha. So tadhita meanings are like cryptic. You have to read and you have to interpret. So tataha means from somebody. So you have to take the word Maheshwara, You have to look at an appropriate placeholder called tataha. You get rid of the placeholder and you put Maheshwara over there. Mostly the placeholder is always the first word. And therefore, even in the Sutra Rachana, Panini does not say agataha tataha. He says tataha agataha. Because in most of the Tadhita Sutras, the first word is a placeholder. Tasya idam. Tasya is the placeholder. You get rid of it and you put the relevant word over there. So tataha agataha. Tataha is the placeholder. The sutram corresponding to that is Samarthanam. Very beautiful sutram, actually, one of my favorites. Samarthanam Prathamadva. He says, Asmin Tadhita Prakarane Yani Sutrani Santi. Pratyekam Sutre Prathamaha Yaha Shabdaha. You can treat it as a placeholder. Means it is not an actual sutram, it is a placeholder followed by everything else. Clear? So tataha agataha iti atra arthaha. Tataha is the placeholder. You replace it by the actual entity. Tataha agataha ityanena arthaha uchyate. Tarhi asmin arthe Maheshwara iti shabdat kaha pratyayah bhavati. Look in the second column. In the second column, there is a sutram called pragdivyataha ana. This sutra means, it's a very simple sutram. It means that unless a different pratyaya is told, use the ana pratyaya. That is exactly what I said. In most of the cases, unless a separate pratyaya gets told, you can always use ana pratyaya. So kumuda, kaumudi, tatrapi ana iti pratyaya asit. By default in Tadhita Prakaranam, you use ana pratyaya unless told otherwise. So pragdivyataha ana. अण इति तत्र अण इति प्रत्ययः तत्र प्रयोक्तव्यः कस्मिन् अर्थे भिन्नेषु अर्थेषु तेषु एकः अर्थः ततः आगतः सो ततः आगतः is what you pick from first column अण is what you pick from second column. Is that question answered?
आं महोदय, धन्यवादः.
Okay, okay. Sada Gopanji.
Sir, this anadi sanyarthani, am I right? Sutrani, anadi sanyarthani. Atra artha sabdasya purpose iti meaning is. It is not about the meaning.
Prayojanam.
Prayojanam. What for this things are there? That prayojanam. That
Correct.
artha.
Not correct. 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 So it is not talking about what is the meaning of the individual Shiva Sutras. It is talking about kimartham, kim prayojanam asti tesham. And that has been explained. The prayojanam of ayun, ruluk and so on is to create pratyaharas. We are not talking about meaning of pratyaharas here. What an means, what ak means, we are not talking about that. An iti kimapi asti. Tasya nirmanam Shiva Sutraihi bhavati. An ityasya prayogah sutre bhavati. Tasya upayogah shabda sadhutvartham kriyate. अनेन प्रकारेण अत्र अण् इत्यस्य प्रयोजनमुक्तमस्ति. अण् इत्यस्य अर्थः नोक्तः. प्रसन्न.
नमस्ते महोदय.
नमस्ते.
अनादिसंज्ञानां प्रत्याहारः इति शब्दः केन किमर्थं प्रयोगः कृतः?
पुनरेकवारं प्लीज. वन्स अगेन.
अनादिसंज्ञानां प्रत्याहारः इति शब्दः प्रयोगः कृतः किल? केन
वेरी गुड,
प्रथमतया
वेरी गुड.
प्रथमतया केन प्रयुक्तः? किमर्थं अन्य किमर्थं प्रयोगः कृतः?
सो प्रत्याहारः इति शब्दः पाणिनिना न प्रयुक्तः. प्रत्याहारः इति शब्दः व्याख्याने प्रयुक्तः अस्ति. प्रतिर्हीयते, संक्षिप्यते अनेन वर्णाः इति प्रत्याहारः. we are going to talk about that when we learn about adirantena sahita. I might be over here. Adirantena sahita. So here they might have this, but even if it's not there, I will explain this. So adirantena sahita ityasya sutrasya samyak adhyena samaye pratyahara iti shabdasya adhyenam kurmah. Pratyahara is a technique of shortening the large entities. Pratirhiyate, pratyakshipyate, sankszipyate anena varnaha iti pratyaharaha iti uchyate. So basically a process of shortening the long entities is called pratyahara. This is not used by Panini. भाष्यकारेण उक्तमस्ति बहुवारं भाष्यकारेण अयं शब्दः प्रयुज्यते बट पाणिनिना अयं शब्दः न प्रयुज्यते. And pratyahara is basically shortening. That reminds me, I think this you might have learned this. Look at this pratyahara vali over here. All the 44 pratyaharas are listed along with the list of letters and a sample example of the sutra. But what you also see in this list is something that is not made up of Shiva Sutras. Sang iti asti. Sut iti asti. Sup iti asti. Tang iti asti. Ting iti asti. एते सर्वे प्रत्याहाराः शिवसूत्रैः न सिद्ध्यन्ति, भिन्नैः प्रकारैः सिद्ध्यन्ति. अतः प्रत्याहार does not necessarily mean Shiva Sutras. Shiva Sutras will give pratyaharas, but there are other ways of creating pratyaharas. Pratyahara is simply a method of shortening the long entities, long sentences. So in the modern language, instead of doctor, if you say dr, it's a pratyahara because you are shortening it. So that is a simple example. Mr. is mr. So that is a pratyahara.
So pratyahara is just another term for abbreviation. So it is used so that
That is correct.
he can refer to it generally everywhere.
That is correct. That is correct. So the process of abbreviation is called pratyahara. Process of shortening is called pratyahara. Pratyarhiyante sanक्षिप्यते varnaha bahulakat adhikarane ghaya. अधिकरणे अस्मिन् इति यत्र प्रत्याह्रियते संक्षिप्यते वर्णाः यत्र इति बाहुलकात् करणे घय इति. We will not go in the details of that. That's like outside this discussion for today. But this is the definition. Yeah. Okay. Then there was somebody else that wanted to ask a question.
So all those
Can
44
huh.
pratyaharas are gotten from the Ashtadhyayi only. From whatever is used in Ashtadhyayi is from where we have collected those
That
44.
is correct. Correct. So because the whole purpose is usage in the sutras. If it is not in the Ashtadhyayi, there is no reason to learn them in grammar. So all those 44 pratyaharas are seen in Ashtadhyayi. A majority of them are from Maheshwara Sutras. Some of them are from a different mechanism.
So in this paragraph, which starts with Nanu Imani Sutrani, the second sentence, the Tadita Pratyaya, the Tadita Pratyaya meaning sutra is referred to, Tataha Agataha. And subsequent to that, it says Itti Ana. So there it is the An is the Tadita Pratyaya. Whereas in the second line, An Adi Samyarthani, there An means the Pratyahara. So those two Ans are different. Is my understanding correct?
That's a very subtle and correct observation. Yes, completely different. And I should have thought of this, but they are so differently placed in the brain that they never overlap. So, ana in the first line is a tadhita pratyaya ana. Ana in the second line is the pratyahara ana. Completely different. So, there is a pratyahara ana, there is a tadhita pratyaya ana, there is a krut pratyaya ana. Completely irrelevant, not related to each other. But that is correct. Here ana is the tadhita ana. In all other lines, anadi and so on, that's the pratyahara ana, I, una, and so on.
महोदय
Yes, please.
अत्र प्रत्येत् तव्य इत्युक्ते
ज्ञेयः ज्ञातव्यः कुत्र अस्ति प्रत्येतव्य अन्ते भवाः णकारादिवर्णाः इत्संज्ञकाः ज्ञेयाः. प्रत्येतिः इत्युक्ते ज्ञानं, ज्ञेयः अवगन्तव्यः इति आशयः.
धन्यवादः.
Is there any importance in the choice of Iksanyaka Varnas? There are two Nas, Purva Nakaraha, Paranakaraha. Is there any importance of Iksanyaka Varnas choice?
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. You think I'll ignore that question and go ahead? Such a valuable question. We'll come to that.
Since
Somebody
this came
else
up,
had a question. Yes.
Since the Nakara came up, Nakara is the it letter, we also have the Hakara coming twice. in the Maheshwara Sutrani. So there is also a discussion about.
That is the reason why I skipped the first paragraph. The entire first paragraph is why Hakara is twice and why Nakara is twice. So that's the one of the complex parts. So I skipped it. The first paragraph is about why Hakara is twice, why Nakara is twice. We are going to talk about both the things in the next class. May not be next class, next to next. There is a lot of material to learn before that.
Hakara is twice because it belongs in both the, it kind of comes with the first set of letters and the second set of letters, right? The shasha sa ha are all ushmanaha, and then ha is also mrudu vyanjanam and not a karkasha vyanjanam.
So that is a general observation. What we have to do actually is we need to prove it using the sutras. So we need to show that her cannot be removed from the first place and her cannot be removed from the second place. And we have to prove that her cannot be combined in a central place somewhere. So we'll do that exercise, or you are all most welcome to do that exercise this week.
Wow.
That
Okay.
find out. I mean, it's a simple mathematical discussion. We might not go in kind of theorem proving and so on. We'll do restrict ourselves to what is written in the Sudha Teeka. But it's a good exercise. I mean, try to pick her and put it in a somewhere middle place. I mean, for example, you said Ushmana is one group and Mrudus is another group. So these groups are adjacent maybe. So you can just put a letter at end of one which also appears at the beginning of another. Can you overlap it? You understand what I'm saying, right? It's worth
Yes.
trying that. You might not get an answer, but you will get some kind of learning from it for your own. So try to rearrange the Maheshwara Sutras so that her can be removed from the first place and last place and bring it in the middle, and try to see if it can, perfectly fit at that place. The answer is definitely going to be that it's not possible. If it was possible, then he would have done it automatically. The point is, why is it not possible? So you have to find out two pratyaharas or a set of pratyaharas which don't are not compatible with each other. So you say either this pratyahara will get a ha and this pratyahara will get a ha, and then the pratyaharas cannot overlap anymore. So then you have no choice but to have two copies of her. Clear?
This anadi sanyarthani here, it is used sanyarthani because it is adjective to Maheshwara Sutrani. Otherwise, it should have been sanyarthaha, right? Artha is pullinga, so sanyarthani napumsaka is coming because Maheshwara Sutrani and these.
The linga of artha doesn't matter because anadi samyartha is a bahuvrihi samasa. Adihi, anadihi, anadihi samnyaha, anadi samnyaha, anadi samnyaha arthaha yesham. In a bahuvrihi samasa, the linga is always based on the visheshya. So if the vishesha is pullinga, anadi samnyartha will be pullinga. If the vishesha is napumsakalinga, this will be napumsakalinga. So bahuvrihi samasas don't, the linga of bahuvrihi samasa does not depend on the linga of the uttarapada. Here?
So because of Maheshwara Sutrani,
Pitam
we are getting.
yes. Pitam ambaram yasya saha. Sarvadini pitam ambaram yasya saha pitambaraha iti vadamaha. So ambaram is napumsakalinga, but uttarapadam's linga does not matter. You have to take anya padartha because bahuvrihi is anya padartha.
Okay.
So Maheshwara Sutrani atah adi samnyarthani.
Mahoday, in anadi sanyarthani, like we say pathanartham, kridartham, is it not like that, or it is like artha, sanya and artha only?
Artha is prayojanam. Pathanartham is pathanam iti prayojanam. Purpose, reason. In the same way, anadi samnyaha iti prayojanam asti yesham. Iti upayogaha asti yesham. It is the reason why these are created.
And could you please explain the second after that? Anadayascha taha samnyahascha anadi samnyaha. That time.
Three samasas are there present together. So anadi samnyartha ityatra trayah samasaha santi. Anadihi is a bahuvrihi samasa. First sentence. Anadihi yasam taha anadayah. Anadayah संज्ञाः अत्र कर्मधारयसमासः। नीलं च तदुत्पलं दीर्घा च इयं रज्जुः अणादयः च ताः संज्ञाः। दिस इज कर्मधारयसमासः। अणादि संज्ञाः। अणादि is the पूर्वपद, संज्ञा is the उत्तरपद, अणादि संज्ञाः। फाइनली अणादि संज्ञाः प्रयोजनं येषाम् अनादि संज्ञार्थानि। बहुव्रीहि. So there is a bahuvrihi followed by karmadharya followed by bahuvrihi. So तत्र अग्रे अस्ति हकारादिषु इति मूलव्याख्याने अपि पश्यामः। इति माहेश्वराणि सूत्राणि अणादिसंज्ञार्थानि येषामन्त्याः इतः अग्रिमं वाक्यं हकारादिषु अकारः उच्चारणार्थः। तत्र पूर्वपक्षिणा तृतीयः प्रश्नः कृतः। Understand the way interrogation is happening to the guru. This is how the learning happens. Interrogation is the primary aspect. You can't just randomly take what your teacher says. Why are we learning it if they are not coming from Munitrayam? So they are coming from Maheshwara. Okay, but why aren't these useless? No, no, they are not useless. They are used for pratyaharas, or they are used for various sutras. These terms, ana and so on, are used. Okay, but why is a present all the way towards the end? Is that a part of the letter or is it just unnecessarily placed? So tatra hakaradishu akaraha uchcharanarthaha. So ha ya ityasmat arabhya shashasar hal ityatra sarvatra ha ya va ra ityatra hakarad anantaram akaraha vidyate yakarad anantaram akaraha vidyate saha akaraha माहेश्वर सूत्रस्य नो चेत् प्रत्याहाराणां निर्माणे तस्य उपयोगः न भवति, केवलम् उच्चारणार्थः तत्र स्थापितः अस्ति। अतः हकारादीनां सुखोच्चारणार्थं सुखेन तेषाम् उच्चारणं भवेत्। व्यञ्जनानां तादृशम् उच्चारणं किञ्चित् क्लिष्टमस्ति। शब्दस्य अन्ते विद्यमानस्य व्यञ्जनस्य उच्चारणं शक्यं, परन्तु क्रमेण व्यञ्जनानाम् उच्चारणं करणीयं स्वराणां साहाय्यं विना, तर्हि किञ्चित् क्लिष्टम्। अतः सुखोच्चारणार्थं पुनः पुनः again and again and again in all those letters ह य व र य म ङ ण न झ भ सर्वत्र again and again an extra akara has been added. सुखोच्चारणार्थं पुनः पुनः अकारः अकारपाठः अकारस्य पाठः अकारस्य स्थापनं कृतं हकारादीनां हकारादीनां सुखोच्चारणार्थम्। अन्यथा ह य व र, how would you speak these sutras? Ha ya vara ityevam klishta uchcharanapattihi iti bhavaha. Klishtam uchcharanam ma bhut. Anyway, grammar is unnecessarily klishta. In the beginning only, if you start with pronunciation, everybody will run away. We are going to see how many people don't run away from Sudha Teeka, but that's a different story. Everybody will run away. So ha ya va ra ityetasya apekshaya हयवर इति अकारेण सह उच्चारणं क्रियते, तत्र सुखोच्चारणम् इति भावः अस्ति। कुत्र कुत्र एतादृशः अकारः? ह य व र इत्यत्र ह य व र, तदनन्तरं यमगणन इत्यत्र झभय इत्यत्र एंड सो ऑन। लण इत्यत्र विद्यमानः अकारः उच्चारणार्थः नास्ति। लण इत्यत्र विद्यमानः अकारः इत्संज्ञकः अस्ति। उरण्ड्रपरः इत्यस्मिन् सूत्रे र प्रत्याहारः, यू हैव ऑल लर्न्ड दिस राइट। उरण्ड्रपरः इत्यस्मिन् सूत्रे र प्रत्याहारः, तत्र अन्ते विद्यमानः अकारः इत्संज्ञकः। Therefore, he immediately makes it clear ह य व र इत्येवं क्लिष्टोच्चारणं पत्तेः, अतः हकारादीनां सुखोच्चारणार्थं पुनः पुनः अकारपाठः। लण् मध्ये तु इत्संज्ञकः। लण् इति एकमेव सूत्रमस्ति, तत्र तस्य इत्संज्ञा भवति। लण् सूत्र घटकः, लण् सूत्रे विद्यमानः, घटक मीन्स अ पार्ट ऑफ इट, लण् सूत्रे विद्यमानः अकारः इत्संज्ञकः अस्ति। इमीडिएटली व्हाट इज द पर्पस? र प्रत्याहारः। र इति प्रत्याहारः कथं सिद्ध्यति? हयवरट् इत्यस्य रेफः लण् इत्यस्य लकारः। So starting from the r of Hayavarat up to the of Lana, आदिरन्त्येन सहेता इति र इति प्रत्याहारः सिद्ध्यति। लण् सूत्रघटकः अकारः इत्संज्ञकः, र प्रत्याहार सिद्धिः इति तस्य प्रयोजनं। तेन उरण्ड्रपरः इति सूत्रस्थ र प्रत्याहारेण रेफस्य लकारस्य अपि ग्रहणं भवति. The ra pratyahara in urandraparaha. Urandraparaha has 3 ras. Only the middle one is the pratyahara. So uran ityatra vidyamanaha ra pratyahara nasti. It is just a sandhi karya. U and ana. Urana. Then the last ra is part of the word para. That has also nothing to do with pratyahara. The middle ra is the pratyahara. Uran ra paraha. That ra in the middle is combination of ra and la. That is the pratyahara. I ran fast because this all was already known to you. You have studied all this. Uran raparaha ityatra ra iti pratyaharaha iti sutrastha ra pratyaharena ra la yoho grahanam iti yavat ra tatha la ityetayoho grahanam ra iti pratyaharena bhavati. अतः ल इत्यत्र विद्यमानः अकारः इत्संज्ञकः अस्ति. This particular aspect explains a very important point which you might have missed out. Ucharanartha used letters are not itsamnyakas. Because if Ucharanam and Itsamnya was an overlapping prayojanam, then he wouldn't have required to say this. Hakaradishu akaraha Ucharanartha asti, lad madhye tu Itsamnyakah asti. So writing a letter only for Ucharanartha, writing a letter only for pronunciation does not make it Itsamnyaka. Therefore, in the pratyaya like tumun, tumun ityasmin pratyaye nakaraha itsamnyakah asti. Ukara is not itsamnyaka. It is for ucharanartha. There is no purpose of itsamnyaka ukara. So you should not write tumun with an anunasika dot on the mu. Because if you write it like that, upadesha janunasika ita will make it an ita, which is not correct. There is no purpose of itsamnyaka ukara in tumun. Tumun is just one example. Multiple other examples can be given. Tu or namul, for example, iti another example. You should not use it. Rini is another pratyaya. Rini e is not for the is not itsamnyaka. It is for the ucharana. So ucharanartha prayuktaha varnaha iti bhinnaha ganaha, itsamnyakaha varnaha iti bhinnaha ganaha. Just because you want an ease of pronunciation, you don't make anything itsamnyaka. Itsamnya has its own purpose. Just like over here, the purpose of a in lana is to create a pratyahara called ra pratyahara.
When lang has to be separated, like it's not just the ucharanartha, it has to be an itsamyaka is what we are saying, right? The akara after the la, it's just not the ucharanartha, but it is the itsamyaka is what we are saying.
Correct.
I'm saying only that place we could have done lun or something like that.
Correct.
So that would have been made very clear, right? The other akara is ucharanartha, but the ukara is itsamyaka. It would have been very clear.
So
But
wait. Let's intercept that question. So you are actually you are actually venturing into a very complex territory. So ra iti pratyaharaha paninina nirmitaha nasti. Panini just says uran raparaha, and probably Panini just believes it as a ra, single letter ra. The fact that ra is a pratyaharaha and it contains ra and la is the interpretation of the bhasha and other commentaries that come later on. It is so much argued that Nagesha towards the end he says that ra is not a useful pratyahara at all. We should be removing it. We should not accept ra as a pratyahara at all, is what Nagesha somewhere concludes in Shabdendu Shekhara. So ra as a pratyahara is a treatment done by the commentaries and not by Panini. Panini never says ra is a pratyahara. He just says ra paraha. He says probably ra is just a letter. You get
so
what
the
I'm saying?
lakara is not included in there by Panini originally, is what you're.
Is what I'm saying, because you see this, there are actually issues if you really take ra as a pratyahara. Again, you are venturing into significantly complex aspects, but I'll show you this. So in the Shivas, I think I have written about this. Lan ityatra ra iti, or maybe I am not written it over here. But ra iti pratyaharaha केषुचन स्थलेषु स्वीक्रियते केषुचन स्थलेषु न स्वीक्रियते इति किञ्चित् तत्र चिन्तनम् अस्ति. It's I think I've written somewhere, but I don't remember it now where. Anyway, the short answer to your question is that Ra is not created by Panini. It has been added by other commentators.
Might be they would have found some usage somewhere and then they would have come to this conclusion that it can be a pratyahara.
No, obviously Tavalkaraha, for example, Tava plus Lukaraha ityatra Tavalkaraha iti रेफेन लकारस्य अपि अवश्यं ग्रहणं भवति इति अस्ति. उरण्ड्रपरः इति सूत्रे र इति आदेशः भवति चेत् सॉरी अ इति आदेशः भवति चेत् सः रपरः अस्ति. In Tavalkaraha, same a adesh becomes lapara. So that can be justified only by urandraparaha. But let's not go in this too complex. Sada Gopanji.
See, but, is there any, the question there is there any need for the small pratyahara, smallest pratyahara land to have two Ityasanyaka letters? After the lakara, I is also a pratyahara, and after the, I'm sorry, is Ityasanyaka, and after that the nakara is also a Ityasanyaka. What is the big deal? If you want only, nakara is already there, it's a Ityasanyaka. Therefore, run, you could have easily put a pratyahara run. Instead, because the sutra says Uran Raparaha, and to justify that, we have to resort to the Ra Pratyahara sometimes, as the Vyakya may be demanding us to do.
And the second point in this context is that it is highly unlikely that he creates all these sutras in such a beautiful manner where each ends in an Itsamyaka letter and suddenly he creates a Lana where there are two Itsamyaka letters and then you have to add an additional Vyakhya for having an Akara present over there as Itsamyaka and so on. There is no reason to go into this kind of complexity. If Panini really wanted the as the Itsamyaka letter over there, he could have created a separate sutram or he could have got a separate sutram for it. We don't know. So this is all speculation and eventually tatra ra iti pratyahara keshuchana स्थलेषु एव स्वीक्रियते केषुचन अन्येषु स्थलेषु न स्वीक्रियते इति निर्णयः दत्तः अस्ति. Sada Gopanji, is there anything you want to add?
Nothing, sir. Actually, I thought there is even a separate book called Ra Pratyahara Khandanam.
Oh, beautiful. I
So
did not
it's
know
a
this.
big
Beautiful. If anybody of you finds that book, please share across. I had no
There is
idea that there is a
not,
such a book.
there is a Khandanam, there is a Mandanam also. Both books are available.
Ra pratyahara
Actually,
mandanam and ra pratyahara khandanam.
About this Ra
Okay.
Pratyahara, there is a Khandanam and there is also a Mandanam. So there are two viewpoints which are
Okay. So
actually
what I
debating there.
know, right. So what I know is that there is an argument on one side and another side in Laghu Shabdendu Shekhar. It has been elaborated, but I did not know there are books about it. Yeah, please go
Yeah,
ahead and say
two Pratyahara Mandanam.
Sudhaji. Is Sudhaji here?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, Shruyate va.
Shriyate.
So, Kimartham, at certain places, he has taken the A for Ucharana, and some other places it's some other swara which he takes. So, is there a reason why he would?
It is correct. I mean, for example, in
Mm,
Tumun there is Ukara Ucharanartha. In Rini there is Ikara Ucharanartha. So mostly he will use E or U as the Ucharanartha letters. It's his choice. There is no reason documented in the commentaries.
okay.
There is no reason documented.
There is a Vatika also, right? Lapa iti vaktavyam. Then why unnecessarily do the Vapatyahara?
That's what. So that Vartikam Lapara iti Vaktavyam, that Vartikam is by considering the fact that okay. So this Vartikam is in the Bhashyam. It is by considering the fact that Ra is not a Pratyahara. If Ra is not a Pratyahara, then how do you justify cases like Tavalkaraha? So Laparaha iti Vaktavyam iti Vartikam tatra samsthapyate. So though both two Pakshas as I mentioned. In one Paksha, if Ra becomes a Pratyahara, then this Vartika is not needed. In other Paksha, if Ra is not a Pratyahara, then this Vartika is needed.
This Itsamya, we clearly know it gets dropped in grammatical operations by tasya lopaha. My question is about this ucharanartha swaras. They also are get dropped in places, or how does that work? Or they always
So
stay?
So the point is that Ucharanartha swaras are not part of, they are not considered as part of the Pratyaya at all. So then there is no reason to give a sutram to drop them. You get what I'm saying? So Itsamnya are actually part of the Pratyayas. So you need a proper grammatical process to remove them. Ucharanartha letters are never considered part. They are just like for Ucharanartha. Because there is a limitation of your tongue, your mouth, so they have been added. So when you are able to pronounce them without them, you can pronounce them without them. So because they are not clear grammatical entities, there are no sutras for removal of them. It is just assumed. I mean, nobody adds them, right? You add them, so you remove them. Here, Panini added them, so Panini needed a sutra to remove them. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
Geeta ji.
Mahadev, it's difficult to believe that Panini, didn't introduce Raparaha, Uran Raparaha, because then simple things like Maharshi, Devarshi, that can also, he cannot derive those things, right?
You're not getting the point. Uran Raparha is a sutram. That is there. Uran Rapara already has a R word. That R can be used to derive Maharshi, Brahmarshi, Saptarshi, and so on. The point is
Ah,
whether that R includes a L or not. The only example is Tavalkaraha, which is again a hypothetical example. I don't know anybody uses that in the language. So Tavalkaraha is a hypothetical example that has been constructed to justify the L part of Uran Raparaha. Maybe
okay,
Panini does not have that
only for that you need uh, this one,
R pratyahara.
Ra
R
Pratyahara.
pratyahara.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. We are not questioning
Okay.
the existence of Urandra Sutram. We are not questioning the existence of R in that. We are talking about is the R inclusive of L or not inclusive of L.
Okay. Thank you.
सूत्रे कुत्रापि लकारस्य अन्तर्भावम् अस्ति प्रत्याहारे इति
तत्र
ऋ
र इत्यत्र तत्र र इत्यत्र र इति प्रत्याहारः अस्ति उरण्ड्रपरः इत्यस्मिन् सूत्रे इत्यस्य पाणिनिना निर्मितं किमपि ज्ञापकं नास्ति. Panini nowhere
नास्ति
tells us that R is a pratyahara. It is the
आम्
commentators that talk about these aspects. Clear?
आम् महोदय
Mahadev?
Ha, ha.
Is Varnaparaha only place where the Vapatya is needed?
There is no other sutra. Only Urandraparha is the sutra.
Okay, okay.
That's the only sutram out of all 4,000 sutras that needs. That is the reason why it's a strong argument that is not a pratyahara at all. If it was there in like 8 to 10 places, one could have easily justified it. Clear?
Okay. Yes, yes.
Uh, you keep saying that for this Taddita, we have to look at those two columns. So have you prepared it and kept it in your notes? Because I didn't attend that Taddita. It was a little too
Not
tough
little,
for
it
me.
is too tough. So yeah, it's not as simple. I mean, I'm always trying to simplify it as much as possible, but if you want, for example, I can show it. It's again Taddhita Sutrani. So here I have made classified all Taddhita Sutras into 12 groups. You can see at the bottom. I don't know if you're able to see this at the bottom. If you go to any particular group, whatever you see in the yellow colored is the first column, and whatever you see in the white color is the second column. You get what I'm saying? So look at this. This is Artha, 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 Artha. That is first column. And all the white ones are actually Pratyayas. That is the second column. Okay, so it's not like very simple like first adhyaya, first pada is artha, and second adhyaya, second pada is column, and it's all mix and match. Okay, so you can see this in every sheet you go, there will be yellow things which are arthas, and there will be white things which are pratyayas. Anywhere yellow things which are arthas and white things that are pratyayas. Okay, so I have taught all that in the Tadhita class, but it's extremely complex for you guys. I don't recommend you to study that.
Where is this?
Here, Tadhita Prakaranam, Tadhita Sutrani. And the 108 classes are here, course material.
Oh.
Okay, if you go to course material, there are 108 classes on Tadhita that I have taught. If you have any questions, you can ask Sadagopanji. He was there in all those classes. So, okay, any other question? Prashnaha na santi? Finally? Okay, let's read this one last time together. ननु इमानि सूत्राणि मुनित्रय ग्रंथ बहिर्भूतत्वाद् अप्रमाणम् इत्यत आह इति माहेश्वराणि सूत्राणि महेश्वरात् आगतानि माहेश्वराणि ततः अण इति अण महेश्वरात् प्राप्तानि इति यावत् ननु महेश्वर प्रणीत सूत्राणाम् एषां वैयाकरण सिद्धांत प्रकाशने उपयोगस्य उपयोगाभावात् इति पूर्वपक्षः इह तदुपन्यासो व्यर्थः इत्यत आह अणादिसंज्ञार्थानि अण आदिः यासां ताः अणादयः बहुव्रीहि अणादयश्च ताः संज्ञाः अणादिसंज्ञाः कर्मधारय ताः अर्थः प्रयोजनं येषाम् अणादिसंज्ञार्थानि पुनरेकवारं बहुव्रीहि एषां सूत्राणाम् अणादिसंज्ञा द्वारा व्याकरणशास्त्रे उपयोगात् न आनर्थक्यम् इति भावः एषाम् अन्त्या इतः एषाम् उदाहृतसूत्राणाम् अन्त्याः अन्ते भवाः नकारादिवर्णाः इत्संज्ञकाः प्रत्येतव्याः हकारादिषु इति हकारादीनां सुखोच्चारणार्थं पुनः पुनः अकारपाठः इत्यर्थः अन्यथा ह य व र इत्येवं क्लिष्टोच्चारणापत्तेः इति भावः लण् मध्ये तु इति लण् सूत्रघटकः अकारः इत्संज्ञकः र प्रत्याहार सिद्ध्यर्थम इति भावः तेन उरण्ड्रपरः इति सूत्रस्थ र प्रत्याहारेण रलयोः ग्रहणम् इति यावत् rest is all clear. You will understand. Here also see in the previous one iti yavat enough of explanation iti yavat iti ashayah.